All right, so let's talk about Iowa's abortion law. Um, it sucks actually, but let's get right into it. Iowa's strict abortion law went into effect Monday, immediately prohibiting most abortions after about 6 weeks of pregnancy, before many women know they are pregnant. Which, of course, nobody gives a shit about. I mean, what should that matter? All women are walking incubators, right? Iowa's Republican leaders have been seeking the law for years and gained momentum after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022. Dear God, it's been that long. The Iowa Supreme Court also issued a ruling that year saying there was no constitutional right to abortion in the state. What other healthcare procedures are not under the Constitution? I will bet you that absolutely no other procedure anybody's going to point and claim, well, that's not in the Constitution, as if the framers should have pointed out every healthcare issue that is constitutional to treat. How the hell would they know? They were smart enough to know that they're not doctors. Not to mention the fact that medicine changes because science. There is no right more sacred than life. Republican Governor Kim Reynolds said in June, "I'm glad that the Iowa Supreme Court has upheld the will of the people of Iowa." Okay, there is no right more sacred than life. It's great that you think life is sacred, but quick question. What about the woman whose life you are trying to ruin? Is her life not sacred? Or what about the woman's kids who might end up having to grow up without a mother? Are their lives not sacred? What about the woman's husband who might become a single father or might end up losing both his wife or significant other and their baby that they really wanted, but something drastic happened, and so since she couldn't get an abortion, she ended up dying. Seriously, are those lives not sacred? Those lives you can shit on, but a potential life that we don't even know if it is going to live, let alone what kind of life it's going to have, that's the only life that matters. Are you kidding me? And that the Supreme Court upheld the will of the people? I'm sorry, I didn't realize that the people drafted the Constitution of Iowa. How long ago was this done exactly? All right. Now, across the country, 4 states ban abortions after about 6 weeks of pregnancy, and 14 states have near total bans at all stages of pregnancy. The law in Iowa and other restrictions across the country will be a focus of the 2024 election, with Republicans celebrating their successes and Democrats criticizing them as an attack on women's rights. Because it is. Vice President Kamala Harris, who stands to become the Democratic presidential nominee, has said reproductive rights are at stake this November. Because they are. The Harris campaign released a video Monday to draw attention to the issue as Iowa's law becomes enforceable. "What we need to do is vote," she said. When I am President of the United States, I will sign into law the protections for reproductive freedom. Oh, one more thing about what the governor said about the will of the people. If you're so sure that the will of the people is to ban abortion, put it on a referendum. Let's see if the will of the people is actually what you think it is. Iowa's abortion providers have been fighting the new law, but still preparing for it, shoring up abortion access in neighboring states and drawing on the lessons learned where bans went into effect more swiftly. They shouldn't have to do that. They have said that they will continue to operate in Iowa in compliance with the new law. But Sarah Traxler, Planned Parenthood North Central State's chief medical officer, called it a devastating and dark moment in state history. I don't know how you can in compliance with the law, because your whole reason for working in the medical field is to provide the best care that you can. It's got to be heartbreaking to say, well, you need an abortion, but we can't provide it for you because ban, so you're going to have to go to such and such a state. And that's assuming that that person can get there. The Iowa law was passed by the Republican-controlled legislature in a special session last year, but a legal challenge was immediately filed by the American Civil Liberties Union of Iowa, Planned Parenthood North Central States, and the Emma Goldman Clinic. The law was in effect for just a few days before a district judge temporarily blocked it, a decision Governor Kim Reynolds appealed to the state's high court. The Iowa Supreme Court's 4-3 ruling in June reiterated that there is no constitutional right to an abortion in the state and ordered the hold be lifted. A district court judge last week said the hold would be lifted Monday morning. Marjorie Dannenpfizer, president of Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America, called it a historic day for Iowa. Sure it is. The law prohibits abortions after cardiac activity can be detected, which is roughly at 6 weeks. Jesus Christ, that is not cardiac activity. If you would bother to listen to the experts as to what is going on there, you would know. These are the same people who question biologists about the evolution of the eye. Well, how could a person see with half an eye? But yet, when there are cells that could potentially become the heart are detected, suddenly that's a heart, and we've got to accept that it's a heart when it's not. It's just mind-boggling how much people pretzel their brains to come to the conclusion they want. All right. There are limited exceptions in cases of rape, incest, fetal abnormality, or when the life of the mother is in danger. Now, that's better than the life of the mother, because when the life of the mother is in danger, where is that standard? We've already seen in Idaho that women have gone into sepsis. Heck, in Texas, women have gone into sepsis. Seriously, is that the line? Women have to be practically dying? I just don't... That is a stupid line. And it's great that there are exceptions, but what woman wants to go to court to get people who aren't medical professionals to allow them to get an abortion? Is my pregnancy this bad? Is my pregnancy that bad? The courts should not be the ones deciding that. The doctor should be telling the patient if the fetus is to the point where, an abortion needs to be done. Because, okay, it takes in the life of the mother. What about her future reproductive ability? Ironically, the people who seem to think that women are nothing more than glorified, I just lost it. I just lost the word. Um, Glorified incubators. I knew I would get it eventually. Are the same people who don't seem to have a problem with the fact that a woman who needs to have an abortion doesn't get it and ends up losing reproductive organs and hence can't be used as an incubator. That they are able to hold both in their head and think that both are fine. Yes, women are supposed to be incubators, but if you can't be an incubator, you're less than a woman. The logic just hurts my brain trying to make any sense of it. All right. Previously, abortion in Iowa was legal up to 20 weeks of pregnancy. Well, at least that's better. Still, there shouldn't be a law. There shouldn't have to be a law to protect abortion because it's nobody's damn business but the woman and her doctor. And of course, whatever family that she wants to be a part of the decision. The state's medical board defined standards of practice for adhering to the law earlier this year, though the rules do not outline disciplinary action or how the board would determine noncompliance. 3 abortion clinics in 2 Iowa cities offer in-person abortion procedures and will continue to do so before cardiac activity is detected, according to representatives from Planned Parenthood and Emma Goldman. Now, that's a nice little sleight of hand because, again, just because the numbnuts who say that cardiac activity starts at 6 weeks, the doctors know that's not true. So, technically, they would be following the law because they're going by cardiac activity. It's just that they know it's not 6 weeks. A law based on cardiac activity is tricky, said Taxler of Planned Parenthood. Since 6 weeks is approximate, we don't necessarily have plans to cut people off at a certain gestational age, she said. Like I just said, cardiac activity, well, the thing that people think is cardiac activity isn't. For over a year, the region's Planned Parenthood also has been making investments within and outside of Iowa to prepare for the restrictions. Like in other regions, it has dedicated staff to work the phones, helping people find appointments, connect with other providers, arrange travel plans, or financial assistance. It also is remodeling its center in Omaha, Nebraska, just over the state line, and newly offers medication abortion in Mankato, Minnesota, about an hour's drive from Iowa. But providers fear the drastic change in access will exacerbate health inequalities for Iowa's women of color and residents from low-income households. Right, because not everybody can get out of state to get the health care they need. I mean, here in Wisconsin, there is a hospital 45 minutes away. 45 minutes away. That, 45 miles away. Miles or minutes, I can't remember now. That have moved their birthing services here. Can you imagine having to drive that much time, whether it be 45 minutes, 45 miles, whichever, just to give birth. What are the chances that most of these women are going to end up giving birth en route? Because let's face it, you can't assume how long a woman's going to be in labor. So that's not a great situation. All right. Across the country, the status of abortion has changed constantly since the Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, with trigger laws immediately going into effect. States passing new restrictions or expansions of access, and court battles putting those on hold. In states with restrictions, the main abortion options are getting pills via telehealth or underground networks and traveling vastly driving up demand in states with more access. So that is the end of that article. And yeah, I feel for the women of Iowa because this is bullshit. Their lives should not depend on what state they live in. They should be able to be pregnant in Iowa and not worry about if something goes wrong that they're screwed. Because the state gets to decide whether your condition is actually falls under these restrictions. There's a hair. So, falls under these restrictions. Because they're not doctors. They don't know exactly what they are talking about. They don't get to say, yeah, that's bad enough. That sounds like something that, should be taken care of. No, they're going to be like the asshats Supreme Court in Texas, where someone like Kate Cox, who wants to have children in the future, more children, and they were willing to put that in jeopardy because they decided that the fetal abnormality wasn't that she didn't give enough evidence for it for them to allow her to have an abortion. I mean, that's just stupid. Why would a bunch of lawyers who probably at best got through freshman biology, and I'm saying at best, and they're the ones who gets to decide medical procedures? It's great that you would never have an abortion ever, no matter what the circumstance. Fine. Nobody's forcing you to. But for the women who want that option because they don't know what might end up happening to them, they should have that option. So, yeah. That's the state of Iowa. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video, and that's going to be very shortly because I've got things to say about Christians losing their damn minds about a part of the opening ceremonies which they obviously have no understanding of, and they think that everything is about them. It's very bizarre. A nice little intersection of doesn't know anything and narcissism. So that video is coming up next. So with that, I will see you guys in the next one.